So a couple of videos ago I gave my opinions or my unpopular opinions. That video did pretty well, and if you haven't seen it I suggest to watch that. But now I thought something more interesting. Instead of giving you guys my unpopular opinions, let me react to your unpopular opinions. This video is gonna be based on the ideology that I either agree or disagree with your unpopular opinions. So before further ado, let's get into it. A couple of days ago I tweeted on Twitter, "Let's argue," which by the way that's from Anthony Fantano. "Let's argue. Reply to this tweet with your unpopular, controversial, or opinions that you know that we disagree on, and I will debate you in the video. So if you want to be featured on my next video, please reply here. It can be about JoJo, any other anime. I was supposed to say manga, but I didn't because I messed up in the typo. Movies, music, and etc. And you guys gave me your unpopular opinions, so let's read them. The first one comes from my friend Monkey, who says, "Put me in the screenshot." Well, I guess he wants to be in the video so bad, so here you go, Monkey. This is his Twitter, this is one of his latest fan art, and this is my favorite fan art from him. I hope you're happy, Monkey. The second one is from Oceanics, who says, "Steel Ball Run's beginning sucks." I disagree. I believe that the first chapters of Steel Ball Run, and by that I mean from chapter 1 to chapter 5, respectively 5, 6, 7, 8, are some of the greatest exposition in JoJo done right. Plus, I think it has the best start of a part with part 5 as well. By that I mean introducing the main character, introducing the plot, and introducing the other characters, introducing the motives of the characters, and everything in between. But I understand that when you say Steel Ball Run's beginning sucks, you probably mean from chapter 1 to chapter 20. First of all, I think from chapter 1 to chapter 8 everything is great. From chapter 8 until the scary monster arc, which is about chapter 20 I guess, I also think that part 7 is nowhere as good as it is after that. I don't think it's bad, but I honestly believe that it's just alright. But in my opinion, for the overall of Steel Ball Run, the story starting like that is actually a good thing, because the slower it starts, the better it gets. But that's just my opinion at least, so that's a disagree. The third one says, "Part 6 is better than what people say about it negatively." I agree. I don't think part 6 is the best, and it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. It has issues, it's inconsistent, it has problems, but at the same time it's good. It has great moments to it. Some of the characters are greatly written. It has some of the best stuff in JoJo. It might not be the best JoJo part, but still it's very good. So I agree. It doesn't deserve the hate that it gets by some individuals, even though it's not hated in the overall JoJo community, because most of us love part 6. Next up, Marvin says, "The best of part 7 stands are great, but it's far from the greatest group of stands. 4 and 5 have better stands in overall." I agree. I think part 7 stands are so good, and I'm talking about the greatest part 7 stands, that overpass most of part 4 and 5 stands. But as overall, I would say part 4 and 5 have better stands. I agree on that. And by the way, Marvin, I know you gave a lot of unpopular opinions as well, but I'm just gonna read another one from you, and all of them were good, and I will respond to them individually, but I just don't have time for all of them in the video. This one, which by the way is really interesting: "Despite some JoJo tubers having a good grasp on JoJo, almost none of them have good writing. I like some of their videos, but most of our analysis on JoJo are incredibly weak in expressing their thoughts through flavor words. I don't expect academic essays, but still, bad scripts basically." I also agree, but I think there are analytics that are above mediocre, and some of them are really good around JoJo as well. For example, one of my friends, I don't know if you have seen this, but Jotaro in-depth analytics. Then there are some Caleb analytics videos that are really good as well. There are good analytics videos around JoJo. It just takes a bit of digging to find it. I personally am not making YouTube just for quote-unquote my opinions. I really would like to have good writing on my videos as well, but honestly speaking, from the bottom of my heart, English not being my main language is the thing that really limits my videos from being the type of videos that Marvin wants them to be, and they're never gonna be like that. So at the end of the day, as much as I try, even though I personally think I'm a good writer, you're gonna get these kind of videos that I don't know if they're good or not, because I honestly have no standards for myself, but I personally don't think are the worst, but still, whatever. Next one, Alt Narancha says, "Heaven's Door isn't as strong as people think." I have a video coming up on this one soon, but the Heaven's Door Door you see used by Rohan might not actually be as strong as most people say it is, for sure, but it's deeper than that. Heaven's Door has limitations that are character-driven limitations, but besides that, I honestly believe that Heaven's Door is arguably the most broken JoJo stand. Period. So that's a disagree. Next one, Joshu is funny and entertaining character that should not get so much hate. I agree with this one. I pretty much what he says just applies to me as well. I do not think that he deserves a lot of hate. Next one, the dynamic between Johann Liebert and Kenzo Tenma are better than L and Light. I agree. I think you're pretty much right. Personally speaking, one of the problems that Death Note has is character duality, and Monster has character duality between the whole cast, and Monster's writing is just like not only superior to Death Note, don't take this offense to Death Note personally, but superior to like 99.9% of mangas, so that's a good take. Next up, the best JoJo ending was part 5. The deaths were most impactful in what they meant, and the final chase was cooler than any JoJo ending. Disagree. Part 7 has a way better fight, way better villain, and way better writing at the end. I really like part 6 ending as well, but part 5 can easily be top 3, I guess, or top 4. I like part 5's ending, and I didn't have any problem with it. I just see room for improvement. Part 7 is just better ending. That's a disagree. Next up, a lot of people don't actually like JoJo. The only reason they watch/read is for the haha funny memes. They aren't even that funny. In fact, in my opinion, these jokes are way more people view some parts as better or worse based on the quality of the possible shitpost. I agree. I think that the JoJo meme community is really important to JoJo. So is the JoJo art community. But I am personally trying to push a new type of ideology into the JoJo community myself, and I don't want to say that I'm the first one to do it, because there are people before me, and I hope there are people after me that will do it with me and after me, is the ideology that writing is more, if not as important as every single aspect in JoJo, and should be analyzed and taken as seriously. Because I agree, memes are kinda the surrounding for the noob or anime only, or the majority of people who watch JoJo, but to people that are invested to the series beyond haha Kono Dioda, then those people don't usually like running conflicts with these kind of people, and we will fix this. Eventually everything will fall in place, I promise. I will try to at least. Next one, JoJolion is really nice, people are just meme with new things. I agree. After it's finished, I hope that JoJolion gets more respect, and the respect that it deserves as a JoJo part, because it's one of the top tier ones. Next up, you know how we argue about the idea of perfect? That one, I say perfect is what makes something the way it is, flaws and all, because if something was truly perfect, there would be no flaws and no one would enjoy it as much. True, I honestly believe that perfection in literature can be taken in different contexts. For example, you can call something perfect with a context, but everything that we enjoy in life should not be perfect, because if there is no room for improvement, if there is something as truly perfect, that is it. There is nothing to it. There is nothing to discuss about it. There is nothing to talk about it. That is just it. So we should enjoy the little imperfections in life, because in overall, those are the actual true meaning of perfection. Part 7 is the best Dio, so you mean Diego, and actually has good reasons the way he is. I agree. Yes, Diego is one of my favorite JoJo characters and one of the best written JoJo characters. He himself is better written than some of the cast of characters from different parts that I don't want to mention, that are all together, he's better written than them. Basically, he's amazing. Diego is amazing. Next one, JoJolion doesn't need a main villain. People should stop waiting every chapter for them and just enjoy the story as it's told. I don't really have to disagree or agree about this, because I can see your perspective, and as an idea it actually sounds pretty cool. A JoJo part that doesn't have a villain as a main villain. But at the same time, it's most likely, which you can easily just like at me like 2 or 3 years later on Twitter and just, hey, I told you, JoJolion's not gonna have a final villain. But most likely it will. And I'm not waiting every chapter for it. In fact, I couldn't care less if Araki introduced him in the last 5 chapters or not, or if he's already introduced or not. That's Araki's job, but I personally think he's gonna be a villain at the end. Next one, Joseph isn't very engaging as a protagonist, and part 2 in general is the weakest part of the series. Brexit, still great though. I agree. Everything you said I agree on, so nothing else to add. Next one, Part 3 is extremely overrated and falls behind in nearly every aspect towards later parts, especially 4, 7, and 8. I disagree. There are aspects of Part 3 that actually are better than 4, 7, and 8, but those aspects are really minimal. I agree that Part 7, 4, 8, and 5, and 6 are superior to Part 3 into the main aspects of writing, but in my opinion, Part 3 is not overrated, and it should not be considered as overrated, because your defining of overrated is what other people say it's cool. Just because it's popular, that doesn't mean that it's rated high. You cannot call something overrated, it is never highly rated, but that's just because you don't understand the word overrated. Besides that, this tweet is kinda correct. Next up, Dragon Ball is overrated. I agree. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I agree with this. There is nothing else to say about it. Next up, Hamon is better in Part 1 than Part 2. Waking up early is better than late. You are underrated. The lore of JoJo is one of its best aspects. The third one is questionable, but besides the third one, I actually agree with all of these. Pretty much. Next up is I like York New more than Chimera Ant. That's your opinion, and I respect that opinion. I personally like them the same. To me, they're both equally entertaining. I personally prefer Chimera Ant arc in terms of writing and quality though. Next up, Part 1 has one of the best endings to a part in the series. I agree. Civil War arc, A True Man's World. I disagree. A True Man's World arc had way more interesting philosophy, psychological side, and most importantly added so much depth to Gyro's character more than any arc could ever do. Civil War arc was really good, but at the same time, the True Man's World arc is one of the greatest, if not, in fact it is, the greatest written arc in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures from a minor villain period. Part 1 Dio is pretty great, honestly, kinda slept on. I don't disagree with that, but I mostly would say that Part 3 Dio is the underrated one, because a lot of people see his actions as one thing, but with the context gotten from Part 6, Part 1 Dio is one of the greatest characters in JoJo period. Diablo is better than Pucci, and it's not a diet Dio. Pucci is not a diet Dio, I agree with that. Diablo is better than Pucci. I honestly have them like, I don't know how to say it, but in a good day, I might agree with that. In a bad day, it might go other way, but you get my. Next up, Vento Reo gets too much praise than it actually deserves. No, just because I think something is overrated doesn't mean it's bad. First of all, I disagree when you say it's overrated. Just delete that part. But the first part, Vento Reo get much more praise than it actually deserves. I agree, for now at least. JoJo isn't a boring character as everyone says, and Polnareff is one of the best companions. I agree, and this is pretty much how it's supposed to be, but most people only see one-dimensional and like loud characters, and those people should research more. And most of these people that I encounter online or on Twitter or on Discord, they usually just ignore when you prove why JoJo or Polnareff are great characters. Yeah, pretty much. Dororo is the best anime of this season. I disagree. Mob Psycho 100 and The Promised Neverland are much better, especially Mob Psycho 100, which is like 3-4 levels above, should not be compared to any anime this season, period. Next up, Josuke from Part 4 is a crappy character. Yeah, he has his moments, but his personality isn't that interesting or refined like most of the other JoJos. I disagree. Considering by your type of comment, also I know you, so you're an anime only. From the first 5 parts of JoJo, Josuke is the first JoJo that is hinted the ideology that he is his own character. For example, any other JoJo are pushed into the mass. For example, Jotaro is pushed to fight Dio, Joseph is pushed to fight Cars, Jonathan is pushed to fight Dio, while Josuke, he's kinda just there. Josuke is a great written character. In writing, usually when the protagonist and antagonist are fighting for the same thing, they always fall in direct conflict. That is why Josuke is amazing, because he isn't just pushed into this whole villain thing. Besides Giorno, who also has his own goal, Josuke has the same goal as the villain, to break free. Kira wants to break free from people following him, and Josuke wants to break free from the killings of Morio. He is honestly one of the greatest written characters, and he is Araki's favorite JoJo, at least from the main universe, because his favorite JoJo is probably Johnny by now, but who knows. Also, there are other elements to Josuke, like he's a high school student, the only normal JoJo to be honest, out of all of them. For example, Jotaro was a high school student, but you cannot tell me that he's normal because he's everything but normal. Giorno is literally the mafia boss. Jolene is in the prison. Johnny is crippled. Things like this that just redefine Josuke as a normal guy. You see him to go to school, you see him chill with friends, you see him go through normal relationships with his as a teenager. Josuke is the closest JoJo to us because Josuke, he's the most relatable JoJo. I will probably make a character analytics video on him, and I hope you can change your mind on him because he's one of the greatest JoJo. Kishibe Rohan, he's the best character on Part 4. I would agree with this if Yoshikage Kira didn't exist, because Yoshikage Kira is actually the best written character from Part 4. Next one, La Squadra could have teamed up to get Trish instead of each other member going solo, and Golden Experience has one of the most inconsistent power in JoJo. You need to research Golden Experience more, but as for the first one, the La Squadra opinion, I agree, because one of the biggest problems I have with La Squadra being so close to each other, having so much respect for each other, and being basically such a great villain group, is that ultimately you can argue why Valentine's guards didn't go all together to stop Johnny and Gyros, because they don't care about each other or they don't work in teams, but La Squadra are literally teammates. If they went all together, Passion's team or Bruno's team would be done for. That's why I don't really get this, but at the same time, nothing is perfect. Every part has inconsistencies. Next one, Hermes is actually the worst Jobro, followed by Caesar, and Asui and Sonam are both characters that are actually more fleshed out and a sort of dynamic story better than Hermes and Caesar. I agree. The only thing is that Caesar is way worse than Hermes, but they're all technically bad. Both technically bad. Next one, Dio is a better character than Diego. His ideals, views on life and philosophy and the Heaven plan are fantastic. Best version of Dio. First of all, the ideas and the idea of making Dio a complex villain came from part 6, and that was written after parts 1 and 3. I would argue that Dio in part 1 and 3 is nowhere compared to Diego, but with part 6 him adds a lot of context to part 1 and part 3. Sure, you can make a case for it, and his ideals, views and philosophy are fantastic. Sure, that's your opinion. A lot of people would disagree with you though. I disagree with this. Diego is a way more charismatic and way better written character than Dio, even though I like both. Next up, JoJo is gay. This is probably a meme comment, but I'm gonna take this 100% serious. Most of the JoJo characters that act gay are actually heterosexual. For example, you can make a case that Giorno is gay, but he isn't. You can make a case that Jonathan, Joseph, Jotaro are gay, but they all are married. They have children. We know they aren't gay. I guess you can say they have actions as gay, but I don't personally believe that defining one action on one pose or something like that as gay even makes sense, but that's just my opinion. Is JoJo gay? Whatever. At least it's good. Next one. JoJo is highly overrated. Most YouTubers give Araki way more praise than he actually deserves, and he is not as great as a writer as everyone should think he is. Well, we all agree with that. It's April Fool's, guys.